What up everyone, I am Gallon Havoc and I'm back with another review. So in the past couple months, a certain game was released that garnered critical acclaim all around. A game that offered brutal combat, stealth, beautiful graphics, and a compelling and tragic revenge plot that showed the darker side of humanity. And that game is Ghost of Tsushima. Had you going for a sec, didn't I? Over the summer, the two games that PlayStation was marketing were Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. And I'll be honest, it was Ghost that I was most looking forward to. After seeing the PAX Games West announced trailer back in 2017, I was hooked. For those of you who don't know, I'm a sucker for feudal Japan and samurai culture, and this game looked like it was right up my alley. I will admit I could never get into games like Nioh and Sekiro, which you would think I would because of the Japanese themes, but they fell into that Souls-like category, where the difficulty is severely stacked against you, which is a big turnoff for me. I like a challenge, but not to the point of a rage-inducing attack dodge fest, and that is why I enjoy Ghost of Tsushima so much. It delivered a challenging experience, but to the point where it felt like your fault if you messed up. But that was far from the only thing I liked about the game. I'm a sucker for open world games loaded with customization. I love hack and slash-esque combat, I love stealth action games, I love history, and I love compelling and tragic stories. So with that being said, let's delve into the spectacle that is Ghost of Tsushima. The game takes place during the first Mongolian invasion of Tsushima, Japan, an actual historical event that took place in 1274. You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai warrior who was part of the 80 samurai resistance to fend off the first wave of invaders. In actual history, they were all wiped out. But in-game, Jin is among the only two survivors, the other being his uncle, Lord Shimura. Shimura is captured by the game's main villain, Koten Khan, and Jin must rescue him by discarding his samurai traditions to become the Ghost of Tsushima. So let's talk gameplay. The island of Tsushima is a vast open world, being divided into 3 territories that you progress through, and each of them is massive with many secrets to find. And it is legitimately beautiful. Seriously, the world feels alive with how the wind blows and the sheer amount of particles that float gracefully across the screen. That being said, the map offers many collectibles and activities to find and complete. However, that does in a way hinder the experience, being a cliche open world trope that we've seen umpteen times for the past decade. But I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, because when done right, it is very rewarding and satisfying. And Ghost of Tsushima delivers, especially when it comes to the Inari shrines, which give you more charms to add to your weapons for different perks and buffs, where you can actually pet the adorable foxes that guide you to them. There's also the hot springs, which let you reflect on Jin's life in exchange for a health boost. You can also perform a test your might-like minigame where you cut through bamboo to increase your resolve, allowing for more skills and healing. Then there's the haikus, which allow you to full-on piece together your own little philosophical poem, which I will admit I had a lot of fun with, being a creative guy myself. But the collectibles aside, where the game truly shines is the combat. Oh, the combat. Similar to games like the Arkham series, Marvel Spider-Man, Sleeping Dogs, and Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima uses a one versus many combat system where you will be surrounded by enemies and have to take them out one by one. However, unlike the other games I mentioned, you don't have a conventional lock-on or indicator, allowing for the combat to feel more immersive and fluid. Now, something I really liked about it was you had to be patient. Mashing buttons would kill you on the spot, making your mistakes lethal, especially when you're surrounded and in the early stages of the game. You have to carefully watch your enemy's movements, parry and dodge accordingly, and execute them with lethal precision. So if you died, it was largely your fault. Even in normal difficulty, I found it reasonably challenging. And now they have a lethal difficulty, which pretty much makes everyone even more deadly, including you. One shot, one kill for them, one shot, one kill for you. Speaking of patience, the game's standoff feature is just so satisfying, where at the beginning of a fight you have the option to challenge the Mongols to a western-like duel, and if done right, you can kill several enemies in one slice each. And if you screw it up, man does it ever punish you, leaving you with a sliver of health. The combat also includes different stances that work against different enemies, one for swordsmen, one for shields, one for spearmen, and one for brutes. The stances work in a similar fashion to Star Wars Jedi Academy, where your 3 saber styles work against specific enemies. Now, if we could get a modern Star Wars game in a similar fashion to Ghost of Tsushima, that'd be great. Now that's largely just the samurai combat. Then there's the Ghost, where stealth and fear set in. As the Ghost, you can stealth kill your enemies in a more dishonorable fashion as opposed to the head-on tactics of the samurai, which also plays a big part in the story, but we'll get to that. You also unlock ninja-like tools like kunai, smoke bombs, firecrackers, and even poison darts to dispatch your enemies stealthily. And seeing the Mongols' responses, cowering in fear or running,
priceless.
And both Ghost and Samurai come to a head with Ghost mode, where you click both thumbsticks and the world goes black and white and then blood red when you strike down an enemy. And when you unlock it, holy shit, my jaw hit the floor because of how awesome it was. And what playstyle you choose is entirely up to you. Me personally, I went with a balance in my first playthrough. I mainly adapted to whatever the situation called for, often mixing and matching different approaches. It's truly a fun experience. But I will say, sometimes, just sometimes, the combat can get a little repetitive. There were times where I'd be riding along the path after just killing a Mongol detachment, only to find another not even 100 meters away. And I'd be like,
oh shit, here we go again.
Now speaking of mixing and matching, the level of customization you have for your armor and appearance is subtle, but diverse as well. It's not like Skyrim levels, but there's plenty of options for your appearance. That and different armor sets offer different abilities, but none that weaken you, but accentuate elements to better suit your playstyle. You can even cosplay as Sly Cooper. Now me personally, I often mainly went for style as opposed to function, because like I said, the buffs the armor sets offered didn't take away anything. I wanted to go around looking like an Oni samurai warrior. I love Japanese folklore, especially the stories of demons, so seeing this mask had me excited. Which brings me to this. Photo mode. In my eyes, every game should have a photo mode, and the level Ghost of Tsushima takes it is beyond expectations. You can control the particle effects, weather, and even do tracking shots to craft your own samurai cinema scene. The backdrop behind me was made using just that. I'll admit, there were lots of times I would spend just immersing myself in the amount of freedom in the photo mode. It's just beautiful. Now for the story, I'm not going to spoil anything much, but I will say the game does a really good job making you hate the Mongols. To the point where I see a Mongol detachment and I said,
Alright, I guess this is the night bitches die.
Of course, then I revert to my previous statement.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Even their leader, Koten Khan, who was played by the same guy who played Attila the Hun in the Night of Museum movies, I might add, earns his place as a really good villain. He's strangely charismatic and intelligent, while also being extremely cunning and savage. He doesn't even give the samurai a chance to die honorably, and just lights Lord Adachi on fire without even blinking in the first 10 minutes of the game. And then not even 10 minutes later, he's having an intelligent conversation with the captured Lord Shimura, asking if he surrenders, trying to break him mentally only to take him hostage. It's Koten who really introduces the question. Is war always honorable? Nope. Sometimes dishonorable acts win over the honorable ones. And the game delves further into that, making the duality of war and honor more and more apparent, which is where one of the game's subplots come in, and where Jin slowly comes to acknowledge that some underhanded tactics are the only way to win, while Lord Shimura is dug deep into the samurai traditions. And it's all very, very, very compelling. And this isn't overly a spoiler, but there's a part in the game where they use the vibration feature in the controller in such a way that makes you feel what you have done. I was literally looking from my controller to the TV like, it was that good. But for the sake of actual spoilers, I will leave it at that. So now it's time for that long-awaited rating. I am giving Ghost of Tsushima a gallant rating of 4.5 out of 5. The game is a beautiful, immersive, fun experience that only had very small flaws here and there, mainly in the form of the repetitive combat and the classic open-world collectible tropes. The story is compelling, tragic, and though it takes some liberties for an actual historic event, it works in the end, and by the end of it all, it is truly worth the experience. I loved it so much it became one of the very few games I've actively sought to get the Platinum Trophy, which actually is not all that hard to get in this one. But for a game like this, I am glad I did. And come the day that they add New Game Plus, I will gladly play it again, and maybe in Kurosawa mode, a mode that renders the game like a samurai film made by famous director Akira Kurosawa. And at the time of writing this script, they announced that they are adding a multiplayer component, which I'm really looking forward to as it delves deeper into Japanese mythology. Suffice to say, Ghost of Tsushima is way up there for best games this year. I would even put it as a Game of the Year contender, but with Cyberpunk 2077 on the horizon, it's got some decent competition. Probably more so than another certain game. That's just my opinion. In the meantime, folks, I am Gallant Havoc, and I will see you in the next one.